This is a recip, and since recips tend to not always be the gentlest animal on the farm, we tend to run our recips up through this working chute and onto this little elevated platform. Makes it easier to trim their feet and do what we need to do to them. This one happens to be a Goat Master. They make several different ones of this working chute. So he's gonna go ahead and trim her feet while he's got her on this chute. He has a pair of hoof trimmers. We're also going to show you sometimes their feet are hard, or you need to level it up a little bit on a buck or a show goat that has their feet are a little bit turned in, turned out. You need to make sure they're level, so you're correcting them a little bit. We use a grinder so we can level that up. He's going to show you that. And there's also a plane that we can use by hand. Sometimes that's a little bit easier for a beginner to start with. So you see all kinds of hoof trimmers out there. We like this brand.
You're going to tell those of us that don't know how far down to go with a hoof trimming, right?
Yeah, well, you don't want to go to blood. Once they start bleeding, you've gone too far. So you don't want to get to blood. But we like this one, this ARS hoof trimmer. They're easy to sharpen. Some people buy all different brands. They don't tend to last as long, but this one is a lot easier to sharpen. You know, Quentin just got through using the grinder, makes that foot really level. Once you get familiar with it, it's an easy tool to use. That one just has a battery, just takes just a second to level that foot up. We talked about doing prenatal work on our does, 30 days out. We do try to get their feet trimmed. It's nice if you can do their feet twice a year to try to keep them from getting really long. But that's another thing you just need to keep an eye on. If something's feet are getting long, you need to try to get them in and get them trimmed. If you live in an area where their feet are really hard, and sometimes bucks' feet tend to get really hard, get them up and give them a bath, get their feet wet, maybe let their feet soak a little while before you start trimming. And then it's easier to work on their feet. Well, yes, healthy hooves are important. We live in a dry climate where we don't tend to see a lot of foot rot. If you live in an area of the country where it's wet, you might see a lot more problems with foot rot. That's something you definitely need to keep an eye on. The availability of pneumatic hoof shears, there are a lot more options out there for things other than just the handheld hoof shears. We don't use those because I think they're dangerous. Some people want to buy those, and I just think that's a dangerous option, but that is available. I mean, you can use those. But if the goat has a foot problem, then they're not going to be wanting to walk around and graze, or it's not easy for them to get to the feeder. They could get an infection. Maybe they have a thorn or a nail or some foreign object in their foot that causes a problem. So feet are definitely things that you have to keep an eye on. So if you see something limping out in the pasture, well, they don't limp for no reason. There's a problem. So that's part of general herd health, is keeping up with their feet. And that's probably the most common complaint. We hear people all the time that want to know who we have that comes and trims feet, and how do we keep up with it? Well, it is a big issue for a lot of people, especially in a large operation where you've got a lot of feet that you have to trim. It's not easy. If you have an elevated platform where you don't have to bend over, it's a lot easier, or put them on a trim stand where you're not bending over, it's a lot easier on your back.
You're starting in pieces. These doing it bit by bit, though.
Yes.
All at one time.
Right. Yep. And when he started on that foot, it was quite grown over. We don't have a lot of rocks, so they don't break off. So that foot had really grown over. On these hoof trimmers, we use a little tool called a speedy sharp. And after you trim about, I don't know, 10, 15, maybe 20, you can sharpen them up. And this particular brand you can resharpen them and they last a long time. As long as you're only doing feet. Can't take them out and cut wire or cut just feet. They last a long time.